Welcome to the Kirk and Carver Show. He's Carver, and I'm Kirk.
Yes, I am. How you doing today, Jeff?
What up, Carver?
Oh, a lot, actually.
Dude, we have so much to get caught up on.
It's quite a bit.
It feels like the last time we chatted, the last time we did a podcast, seems like eons ago.
It seems like it was so long ago. Today, when I was driving here, I almost forgot, really when it was. I was like, dude, did we miss a week? What happened?
And then I'm already thinking about next week's episode, and I'm like, that's going to throw us off. So eventually we're going to come to a standard place, state and time.
I hope so.
It will be the same bat time, the same bat channel down the road, but we've been all over the place the last couple weeks.
You know, and I'm sure you'll forgive us for just all of this, getting things lined up. You know,
Thank you for forgiving us.
We're trying. We're doing our best over here, and we know you love us, so thanks.
Which is 19 of you. So thank you for loving us, you 19.
Yes, it's very much appreciated. You guys are really the core group here.
I think there's 23 subscribers
there's 23
in total.
Now. Yeah.
4 of those are our parents.
Definitely.
One is you. One is me.
Okay, you're really just hurting the vibe here.
Well,
but yes.
You know what? At Kirk and Carver, we address the unaddressed. We address the unaddressed.
Yeah.
And thank you for the 19 or so people that are subscribers.
Yeah, real people, not us, or family members that we twisted their arms to join, but actually want to listen to us, our yammering.
Yes. So, so that said, last time we chatted, you were getting ready for your missions trip down to Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah. And what city in Mexico did you go to?
Tecate. So it's basically just east of Tijuana.
Is that where Tecate beer is from?
I asked that question several times. Never felt like I got a straight answer.
Okay. Well.
Like they either were like not too happy about it, or they just didn't want to talk about it. It was like one of those things like, yeah, I'm sure somewhere around here. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? But just no one would give me the yes or no.
To be determined then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't find the factory.
All right.
So.
Well, not that you're going down there to find the Tecate factory anyway, but how was the trip?
Tacos were amazing.
Of course.
We definitely did the one taco night day.
Taco night day.
Yeah, you know, it's Mexico. That's what happens. Yeah. No, it was so good. We went down there, and you know, if you've ever been on a missions trip, one thing you'll always hear from anybody that goes on a missions trip is like how God worked through such a difficult time. You know, like the conditions were bad. It was just a slog. You know, we sweat, we suffered, but you know, God was there, and He just
helped you grind through it.
Yeah, it was like, for us, it felt like a feast.
A vacation.
Of joy and fellowship. It was like a super vacation that, you know, we didn't expect. I mean, from the moment we hit the road and we're driving down there, it was literally just a chuckle fest for like 2 hours, 3 hours going down there. And then we get there and we just had a great time, you know, just getting to know the place. It was so clean. Like our bunks were double mattress bunks,
wow.
You know. The weather wasn't too bad. Just we all just had a good time together. Mm-hmm. And then we thought, you know, at some point the missions trip part's going to start, right?
Yeah,
and,
sure.
You know, going into Saturday, you know, we were supposed to do trash pickup, you know, where we go into a community and collect all their trash and then somehow, you know, have that opportunity to just go and minister to them.
Now, how big is the town of Tecate? Is it like
small.
An actual city? Or okay, it's a town then.
Yeah, it's a town
Got
for sure. It's not like TJ even where it's like developed. This is very underdeveloped.
And how far of a drive from the OC to Tecate do you think it was?
So from Tecate to the actual like orphanage was maybe 20 minutes tops.
Okay.
From the border to OC with no traffic on the way down, I think it was about 2.5 hours.
To Tecate.
Yes.
Okay.
To the border crossing.
Okay, and then from the border to Tecate was how long?
20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like to the orphanage is
got it. All right.
Really close.
I thought you meant from the city to the orphanage was 20 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so not a terrible drive then.
No, it didn't take us
And
long
it
to
sounds
get there.
like you had a wonderful time.
Just phenomenal. You know, we ended up, instead of having to pick up trash, we did a water ministry, which we basically went and filled up everybody's like containers of water.
Who doesn't want to give water away to people?
I mean,
sign me up for that action.
Yeah, no trash pickup or anything. Just, oh, hey, here's this truck going to fill you up with water, and we're also going to pray for you and talk about Jesus. And yeah, it was just
so amazing. Whether it's a box at Motel Church or water down in Mexico,
I felt like I was doing the same thing, just somewhere else.
You're just doing the Lord's work, Carver.
It was so good.
Good stuff. Glad to hear that.
Amazing. And I really hope that, everybody can just experience that. That it's in that service, we get served as well. Like God meets us halfway there. Mm-hmm. Except this time, I feel like He did all the work.
Yeah. Well, he does.
Out. Yeah.
God just needs you to show up. Make the commitment. Come to
Show
Motel
up.
Church.
Yeah, right.
Join a men's group or women's group and just show up.
Just
because
show up.
Getting into the Word, no matter if it's picking up trash or giving water or handing a care box out to someone, just showing up makes God very happy.
It did. We definitely felt His presence.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Good.
So,
well, God bless you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. And
awesome.
I'm glad you had a great time.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
So we'll kind of pass over this last week, and just because of wanting to get the message started here.
Right. Get the ball rolling.
So for the 19 of you that are listening, thank you again. What we are talking about today is our first topic. Our first real episode outside of our testimonies.
I feel like we get a second chance to do the first episode, because we did our first episode, the second episode. This is the real first, we're having a discussion today episode. We're breaking things down and we're getting real.
And I'm excited about that. We banter often, and whenever I conclude a message or a dialogue with Carver, I get off the phone going, that was really insightful.
Yeah, right.
And,
every time.
I'll always walk away a few minutes later and I'll chuckle about something you said, or something that you said resonated with me, and I'll think about it more. And I'm excited to have this our first topic, our first dialogue, actually in recording that everyone can witness.
Yeah.
So, again, for those that subscribe to one of the mini podcast channels, thank you. If you want to see either of our mugs, we have a YouTube channel as well.
It is on YouTube.
Please like, subscribe, and share. We would means the world to us, so thank you for that. So, today's topic is relationships. So, for those who haven't listened to Carver's testimony that occurred last week,
go do that.
You had, start with that, then come back to episode 3, which is this current episode. Yeah. Carver, you had talked about a few relationships in your times past.
Right.
That didn't end well, but, so is life. And I have a relationship. I did talk about one relationship that was more recent, but I do have a failed marriage as well that we'll talk about today.
Yeah, you brought up, the successful relationship, the one that everything kind of makes everything else make sense, which is, we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, and so I think what we're going to outline tonight is when you go into a relationship with a different lens or approach or mindset, we'll say, outside of the blessing of God, in a very secular view.
I mean, let's be real about it. It's always just the first time you go into a relationship. Because it's always what's natural.
No doubt.
Right? It's the head.
Instinctual, right?
Instinctual going for a relationship. The hormonal teenager phase of going into a relationship. Or even, you have all those ideas of what a relationship should be. And unless you're very carefully guided, somebody takes so much time to teach you, what you're supposed to go for in a relationship, you just go with what feels right. And that's not at all what's right. And so that's kind of what we want to go over, is just all the red flags we didn't care about, all the warning signs we just totally ignored, and how to set yourself up for failure in a relationship when you think you're doing the right thing, but it's totally not.
Yeah, so let's start with this. Carver got married when he was how old? What age were you?
23. It was my early mid-20s.
23, and you dated for how long before 23?
Since I was 19. So that would be
4 years.
Yeah. 4 years.
So you had 4 years of courtship / dating, and were you walking with God in this moment, or
on and off? So it was one of those things that when the relationship started, I was in a pretty decent place with the Lord, but again, as I picked the relationship and my desires for the relationship, my walk with the Lord completely disappeared.
Same exact thing for me. I was always, I'll say, close to God, God-fearing. I have a cross tattooed on my shoulder.
I go on my back. That's cool.
That not the day I turned 18, but early, as early as I could get a tattoo.
Right. Mine was pretty quick too.
I had always believed in God, obviously, totally believe in God now. Walk again, on and off again, but would go to church on a pretty frequent basis.
Yeah.
But I never really applied Christianity to my relationships.
Like, you took it seriously, you took the Christianity seriously, but there was but when it was relationship time, that was separate. Like, no,
completely
this is for me.
Separate.
This
right.
is for me, not for anyone else.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like a cognizant choice I was making. It was just one of those things that I never applied the two together.
Why? I feel like it kind of, even at a base level, was because that if you did, you'd have to choose.
Yeah.
I think deep down...
I mean, we went to church together, but it wasn't like we would come home and
talk about it.
We wouldn't talk about it.
Right.
And it wasn't like we were praying over every meal together.
Yeah.
Unless it was a big holiday, then you're praying over Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
And even then it's always the patriarch praying for Thanksgiving dinner.
That's usually true.
So anyway, similar situation for me. I was 27 when I got married.
Okay.
Dated for 5 years before that.
So why'd you do it?
Well, I had... that's a great question. Like anything, dating for 5 years puts a big toll on the relationship.
Exactly.
And typically, your partner goes...
Yeah, right? What's taking so long here?
Oh boy, you gonna put a ring on this action or what?
Yeah.
And I had saw many of my friends get married so early and right out of the gate that I'm like, well...
I would have been one of those friends.
I don't want to do the same thing and watch, as I've seen witness to many of my friends, their marriage falter. So I'm like, I don't want to be another statistic. And at that time, I was actually really concerned with the divorce rate, especially in the state of California. It was high.
It's pretty high.
And I think it's even surpassed it, as of late,
Probably.
Naturally.
I mean, we've added to that.
Yeah, well, we got 3 under our belt just of these two knuckleheads sitting right here. Yeah. So, we're not starting this show off to a good start here.
Well,
but
it's reality.
Ultimately for me, I did love her and she loved me. And as you move forward, that's the next natural progression.
Yeah.
We'd already owned a house before we got married together. It was so set in stone, like this was going to be my partner, that it was almost like, not why bother, but it's just a matter of time. Clearly the commitment's there.
Yeah.
There's no fear of commitment. We bought a house together.
That's pretty huge.
So we ended up getting married, and she has 2 children. I came into their lives when they were 3 and 6 years old.
Okay.
And I'm still close to them today, even post-divorce. They are now 20 and 22 years of age.
How often you guys talk?
I feel like maybe 23. I don't know.
Okay.
I would say we chat once a month.
Okay.
Yeah. One lives in San Fernando Valley. The other one lives at home in Sacramento. I say home.
Their home.
Their home.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we're close-ish, but we'll have that topic on another day.
So and I'll say the same thing. I mean, I was just in a relationship. I got pressure from, her dad, from her, my own friends.
Of course,
4
years is a long time too.
Yeah, I mean, it was close to 4 going on 5. It was kind of the same time frame that it's just what are you doing? So that I can totally relate with, that it was just an expectation. So what were your red flags though? So you said a lot of your red flags were the divorce rate. You just you saw that, well, this could fall apart. So I don't know if I'm ready to make a commitment. I know for me, the red flags that were there were that, because our relationship was based off of a really solid friendship, right? We were those two that were hanging out all the time, after work, during work, we get along, we laugh. We had so many different things about us that just clicked that we said, well, why don't we just add sex to the relationship, right? That's gotta be good. It just makes it better. No, it didn't. But, we thought it would. And if anything, it just super distracted us, again, from, the red flags that were there that, we didn't, even though we were good friends, we didn't really have a bond, like something that, like a purpose. Our relationship had no purpose. And at the time I didn't really know what that was supposed to look like. I barely even knew what my own purpose was as, an early 20s guy trying to figure out his life. So not only finding purpose in my own life, but then having to add purpose into my relationship just didn't exist in my mind. And that's what kind of led me, after I got married, to say, like, why does this suck? So I guess just kind of pass the ball to your court, like, what was your progression to feel like this is getting terrible?
Yeah, so we had moved on to our second house at this time, and it was the second house that really was the...
So you bought a second house? Like you had two? Or you moved from the first one to the second?
So we sold our first, moved to the bigger, nicer, suburban, 3-car garage. Like, that's when I'm like...
You're the Joneses.
Moving on up.
We got Jonesy over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now, mind you, at the time, our first house, we had 12 years left on the mortgage. I refied down to a 15-year. We were aggressively paying it. Wow. I felt very successful in order, extremely confident, and there was a little birdie within her family that was like, "You live in a tiny house," and she just kept like chirping at her, reminding her that she lives in this little tiny house, our little tiny house, and eventually. That noise created enough effect that she's like, well, maybe we should look at getting a bigger house. And, I'm young, and I'm like, I like fancy, new, shiny objects.
So you're all about it.
Just like, I wasn't.
With
right. Okay. And so we end up finding this beautiful house in a suburb of Sacramento in a very nice, upcoming neighborhood.
Sure.
Brand new, solar panels, like, just really nice stuff, Carver. So you go from... It was a new house when we bought it to a really nice upgraded house, 3-car garage.
So what I'm hearing is you had all of you had all the tools for success. You had the good job. It's not like you guys were, how
we weren't struggling.
Yeah, how so many divorces are based off of struggle. Like you guys were not struggling at all. Like you guys were like living it.
Well, yeah, life was good. So we fast forward, move into this place in a suburb of Sacramento, and. The paradigm shift happened in our relationship. I started traveling a lot for work, so I fed work a lot of time and energy.
All of a sudden, or did that kind of slowly ramp its way up?
No, I think it ramped itself up. She noticed it, so then she started pulling back, and once I felt her pull back, it was easy for me to pull back, and then all of a sudden... we became domestic partners. Go, Carver.
Okay, so I was going to say, was your work load based off of a choice? Because I always feel like I hear that men in that traveling situation, they do get some choice sometimes. Mm-hmm. Did you kind of make that choice to travel more? Or
no.
Did that you were just, that was the way life was?
I got a promotion at work, and instead of having 2 states, I had the western 28 states.
Okay, so
I traveled a fair amount.
And she took it the wrong way, I'm guessing. That.
Yeah.
Do you think she just didn't know how to handle it, or she like received that as you were making this choice?
I don't want to make it seem like this was her issue. I could have done things better too. Like, blame goes both ways.
Yeah, and not so much that. I'm trying to understand what the mindset was that you saw. Like, What did you see? Because you said she pulled back, but did you ever kind of figure out? Okay, well, I'm just not here, so she's just naturally pulling back, or she's interpreting this some way.
Well, think about this. Let's bring this back to a biblical principle.
Okay.
When you don't have Jesus living in you, you fill that void with X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Booze, sex, possessions, what have you.
Addictions, right? You get addicted to stuff.
So if our relationship is based on her and I as the nucleus, and then all of a sudden I'm gone 50% of the time, she then needs to fill that void of her and I with other things. Wow. You brought it up. Keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Okay.
So I start traveling,
yeah.
And we live in this big house. This night, big's very relative. We live in California. We live in a 2,000 plus square foot house.
That's nice.
then things get filled up, or she needs to find ways to fill that gap of that nucleus spending more time on the road.
Well
and
said.
so I saw the materialism start to take place.
Okay.
And that for me was challenging. And I was working stupid hours, Carver. I would leave first thing Monday morning. I'd fly home either late Thursday night or Friday.
No way. Okay, yeah, that's pretty intense.
It was tough. And
you need a solid relationship to get through that.
And so I remember coming home one night, and we had a little dog. The little dog's name was Frank. Sweet little dog.
Sounds like a sweet little dog.
He's over there somewhere. And I'd open up the bedroom door, and he would just lose his mind. Tail wagging, jumping on me, just couldn't stop. This little Jack Russell Terrier.
Okay.
Cute little Frank. And she made this comment to me, and I remember this as if it was yesterday. You're more excited to see the dog than you are to see me. And I, Carver, without even holding back 1 ounce of energy, I go, do you see how he's greeting me? And do you see how you're greeting me?
Wow. That's
because this
shots fired.
This had been building up for some time.
Yeah.
I got to a point, and I would Uber always to the airport. The last thing I want to do is go pay parking and then have to drive home. So I would Uber to and from the airport all the time. And I remember
expense report that anyway.
Yeah, it's all on the expense report. Yeah. And I remember a handful of times I would actually be in the back seat of the Uber. This is pre-mask. And I just remember crying, going, I have to go home to a wife that doesn't want me there.
I know what that feels like. Yeah, that's tough, man. And that's tough. So that's when you knew, this has got to stop.
Stuff is not right.
Yeah.
It's time to get it in check. Yeah. So I battled with that for about 3 years.
3 years?
Mm.
That feels like the majority of your marriage.
3 of, it was probably right at half. So married on paper for 8, but we really separated at 7. So so 4 years good, 3 years feeling this way.
that is a huge. I mean, usually you see marriages going through a tough time for 6 months to a year, and if things don't get resolved right, it's we'll give it 1 more year. Always gets thrown out there, and of course that I think rarely ever works.
And I loved her.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's why it was 3 years of misery.
Yes.
And so here's a good question. You say you love her. I mean, I know I could say that I loved the women that I was in my relationships too, but why'd you love her, Jeff? Honestly.
I had learned so much from this particular person, and this person pulled me through so many difficult times in my life. And when I look at the ages of 22 to, I guess that would be 35 years of age, that's a lot of time.
So 22 to 27, while you were dating, she was really there for you. So it was security and respect is kind of what I'm feeling.
There was a lot of...
You gained a lot of security and you had a lot of respect for her.
And, I did life with her for such a long period of time. And I mean, I'm still close to the kids. Even though they were my stepchildren, their father was still in the picture. I still love them as they're my own. And when people ask me, do I have kids? I go, yeah, I have 2 boys. It's not even a thought process. These
I didn't
are my
know
children.
You had stepkids, until more recently that it came up. I thought they were your kids because that's always how you described them,
right.
Which is and that was probably even another thing that was contributing to you wanting to stay into it, was just that you had shared that bond with them. And of course that was innocent and, very fulfilling and things. And that, again, so it's interesting that you say that that's how you described that love, which I'm sure next week when we talk about our, the good relationships, your probably your view on love is very different, right? And that's something same thing for me, Jeff. When I look at my previous relationships, what I loved, or how I would describe my love for in those times was, yes, based off of what they did for me, right? What they did for me was why I loved them.
Very self-serving.
It doesn't get more self-serving than that. And very much not the biblical call for a man to love, in a marriage, So, so if you had to kind of like say, if you had to talk to someone who's thinking about getting married right now, I mean, we've already kind of given a lot of it. I think if we were to talk to someone, if I were to talk to somebody right now who's thinking about wanting to get married,
if Raj calls in,
I mean, we know he's listening. He's been with us since the very beginning,
since 1.0.
Since 1.0, I know he suffered.
Yeah,
he did. Production.
Thanks,
quality.
Raj. Appreciate you, bro.
I think if I were to speak to Raj right now and he was like, I'm thinking about it, I'd say, well, why are you thinking about it? That's probably your biggest red flag that you're thinking about.
Yeah. So I'm glad you bring this up. A friend of ours, we were out to dinner with recently. G and I were out to dinner with this friend.
Just Gloria, by the way.
Yeah, GT for short. Was saying, I love this particular woman, and she is the person I'm going to get married. But there was lots of hesitation along the way, and I go, it should be so razor sharp clear. Back to your original point of red flags, warning signs that you are ignoring. There is some underlying tone that you are not either coping with or willing to discuss or verbalize in your mind that's holding you back, because there should never, ever be a but.
Yes. And I can guarantee you, if you're having that struggle, you're probably having sex with her, and you probably think, well, you're distracted. You're just distracted, right? If you're thinking about wanting to get married with somebody,
don't be distracted.
If you're thinking about wanting to get married with somebody and you're having sex with them, don't have sex with them just stop. Just stop right now. See if you even can. See if in a month you still even want to hang out with them. Real advice. Because I can tell you right now, both of my relationships, if we had stopped having sex, my eyes would have opened up. I wouldn't have been distracted anymore. I would have seen that the thing keeping this relationship going was not something I would want to pursue in marriage. It just wasn't. It's so damaging because...
What do you think it is? I mean, obviously, biblically it says, do not have sex unless it has been, blessed by marriage.
Yeah.
I get that, but I almost feel like sex premaritally is like keeping your relationship on life support. And here's why I say that.
Yeah, it totally is.
You have a big blow up, you kiss, you make up, you bang it out, and it's okay after that. Like, is it really okay, or are you just masking the issue?
You're just masking the issue.
Right.
It's lust. It's like you're just filling that void, right? Like you could just say that you had the relationship itself, the person.
Sorry, I realized what I just said out loud.
Welcome to the show, guys. It's getting real now. It is getting real.
Talking about undressing or talking about addressed in the unaddressed? Anyway.
But that's really where I feel like we let ourselves just be blinded, by the things. Again, it boils down to an addiction. Just the same way you get addicted to cigarettes because you feel like you need it. You're in this relationship. And you just start wondering, why am I in this relationship? And then you have sex. And you're like, oh, that's why I'm in this relationship, right? So, yes, exactly as you said. If you're thinking about, I want to get married, but I'm not, and maybe I should, newsflash, don't do it. Don't do it. Divorce is so painful, guys. It is such it's like you literally have to live on a sinking ship that you can't get off of. And that whole life that you built drowns, and then you have to just live in that. It's terrible.
Let's circle back. Your marriage, so you were 24 when you got married.
Yeah, about 20. Yeah. 20.
And how long did that last?
Like 2.5 years.
So what was the sinking ship mindset you had in the moment? Like, what was that final red flag where you're like, okay, time to cut bait? Like, there is no salvaging this.
Like, we got to a point. So actually what happened was I was so dissatisfied with my life at the time that I felt like I had to just completely change everything and soul search a a new beginning for myself. That everything in my life was just not worth living, right? And this was one of those times that I had fallen very far away from God, and I had no relationship with Him whatsoever, and everything that I had in my life was just terrible. So I found out, not to go off on too far of a tangent, my brother got cancer, and he lived in L.A. County, so I moved to L.A. to just spend some time with him and also soul search. And then when I realized while I was apart, I was so much happier. So it was literally, again, creating the physical distance
divide
that I realized, well, now my life is amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well,
so that's when the light bulb clicked on.
Yeah. That, like, whatever, that this relationship, I'm not doing her a service. I realized how selfish I had been, even getting married and going through the motions. Like, I realized as a man that I was not a leader at all. I was not doing what I was supposed to do, which is lead a relationship forward. I was totally just put it in neutral and just jumped out and walked away. So I said, again, the best thing I could have done at that time was to just end it so we could both move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was a very difficult dialogue to have.
It was one of the hardest moments that I had to have speaking to someone that I'd known at that time, 10 years at the time. Very difficult. 9 years, whatever. But that I'd known her for that long, and that basically throughout our whole 20s, we knew each other. Even before that, for me, we started dating when I was 18. We were friends when I was 18. We started dating 19, and
so you had a good long history together.
Long history. So ripping that apart was, again, that was the most painful thing about it. And guess what? I ripped all that apart, and I filled all those voids with, not God.
Yeah.
So that was another, hey, let's go back in the belly, was because I filled all that emptiness that I felt from losing that relationship, with the pain and everything, with, just vices. I just had more addictions.
You use that Jonah reference quite frequently.
I feel like that's just a huge explanation of my life, was living in the belly.
Running away from Nivena. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Don't want that for anybody.
It never is, especially when you're hitting every single red light imaginable.
Oh, man. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
life's better when they're all green.
Life's way better when they're all green. Yeah.
So, good stuff. So I think at least for, our first topic jumping off point, I think we have very well hit the home run here on what not to do in regards to relationships.
Speaking of home run, we have a short. We were at the Angels game last week on Friday. It was very fun.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked that out, that's on Kirk and Carver podcast. Duh.
It's on this channel.
Kirk and Carver YouTube channel, and we have a Instagram channel, and I don't even know if you know this, but we have a TikTok channel. Yes,
we have a TikTok. Yes,
we're hitting all the social media platforms.
Check those boxes.
I typically do not want any part of, but that's what you got to do to make a show and make it streaming for the world to see. That's you, by the way. So join us. Our new bat time.
Yeah, our new release time
is going to be Wednesday morning, and you had a particular time Wednesday mornings that you would like this released.
Yeah, it seems like all 20 of you. Wait, correction, 19 of you, because we don't count. The majority.
Well, if we're recording it, we don't need to tell ourselves when it's going to go live.
Exactly. So the 19 of you that watch, like to watch the show between
by the way.
About 9 a.m. and noon is the real popular time. So we do plan on releasing about 9 a.m. And then let you guys hit it. The big spike is always at 10 a.m.
And we do appreciate you foregoing work to watch Kirk and Carver. So thank you for that.
We'll talk about that eventually, but we all know you're just sitting at work waiting for something to watch, so might as well be us.
So that said, join us next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Yeah, whatever.
10 a.m. on a Wednesday.
Wednesday morning, whatever time you're not working, join us then on Wednesday to watch the follow-up on what to do to have a successful relationship. I will say I'm in a new relationship myself, coming up on 3 months now, but before that, friends...
I thought it was longer than that.
Friends for 4 months before that.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about that. And then Carver just, I don't know if you want to
hit it off. Yeah. No, it's very fresh.
Just fresh. Just started a new relationship.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about what a secular relationship looks like and how that has worked out for us in the past, and now jumping off into a God-fearing relationship. And when you follow what it says biblically, how much greater life is. And it's not based on the physicality of your relationship. So when you do have the pitfalls in between, how much greater to overcome those obstacles than filling it with sex or any kind of physicality.
Yeah, all the things you can get addicted on. And yes, do tune in, because I feel like there is a litmus test to how to know whether your relationship is something that, again, that God either is a part of, wants, and whether it will survive, time. Because that's really what every relationship boils down to. How long is it going to last?
That's right. And you know what? I don't think anyone wants the serial date. Like, at the end of the day, we all want companionship that
I hate dating.
Has loyalty and longevity to it. And, marriage is supposed to be forever.
It's supposed to be.
And, that's what we're all striving for. And it's nice when you can look at a particular situation and go, beyond a shadow of a doubt, no matter how bad I fail, no different than your relationship with God, God's still going to love you. God's still going to support you. And that's exactly what you're looking for in a partner here on earth. So be sure to tune in next Wednesday for the second half of episode 3 here on relationships. Yeah. And it'll be a far more guided tour on what to look forward to, use the litmus test for your relationship. And like we've said before, if you have questions, comments, put it down in the bar below.
Yes. We want to help you guys have relationships that don't suck. And newsflash, half of that is you got to get yourself right. You got to get yourself right.
Amen.
So
Amen.
We're going to dig into that. I'm excited.
Hurt people. And when when you are right, you will find a person that's right as well. That's just how that works.
There it is.
Negativity attracts negativity. So be sure to join us next Wednesday.
Thank you all for being here.
He's Carver, and I'm Kirk, and we out.
Peace.